Story 1. Laughter. We make strange noises, sometimes uncontrollably, just because we find something funny. It is a physical response that evolved for social bonding, but if you step back, it is kind of bizarre. Story 2. Goofy has a pet dog that he keeps leashed in clearly poor conditions outside his house, despite himself, his family, and loved ones being dogs or other anthropomorphic animals. Story 3. To me, it's so crazy that we just pick someone, and they become one of the most important parts of our life. We just spend so much time together, and then sometimes you just break up, and someone you spent like 12 hours a day with for around 15 years is just not part of your life, and you never see them again. Story 4. Sometimes I think about a word and think it's weird how it's spelled. Not necessarily in grammar, but the letters feel off. Like I had a moment where swim was weird to me. Weird that it has vim in it. I don't know, my brain is stupid. Story 5. How we celebrate birthdays by putting fire on food and singing while the person just sits there awkwardly. Like, if you actually think about it, it's kind of weird. Story 6. How we bury bodies. We drain them of fluid and inject them with a chemical mixture to slow down decomposition so we can look at the corpse a few more times in public. Then we seal the mummy in an airtight box and put it underground where the body just sort of dries up over the centuries. Story 7. Talking to pets like they are actual humans. I will have full-on conversations with my dog, telling him about my day, asking for his opinion, and even pausing like he is about to respond. Feels totally normal until someone else walks in, and I realize I am waiting for a golden retriever to give me life advice. Story 8. The tooth fairy tradition. I told my almost 4-year-old about it, that his teeth would fall out one by one so big kid teeth would grow in when he's older, and it doesn't hurt. That he puts them under his pillow, and the tooth fairy would come during the night and give him money for the tooth. He was very contemplative for some moments and then said quietly, "Mommy, I don't like that at all." Story 9. Animal adaptations. If you think about it, so many animals look really weird, but because they are familiar to us, it doesn't faze us. Like elephants being enormous and having a long nose, or giraffes being tall and gangly, or octopuses with all their arms. Story 10. Milk. When you get down to it, the consumption of milk is really weird for anything that's not a baby. The whole industry around it is just ungodly amounts of strange when you stop to think about it. Like, as mammals, we make milk, which is effectively filtered blood. Somebody saw that and was like, I bet everybody wants this. So they bred over the generations for animals that had just enormous udders so that they could harvest this stuff. Now we put it in so many things. Somebody else had the idea, what if we let this weird white stuff rot just right? I bet it would be great on sandwiches. It's insane if you think about it, but it's so normal in our lives. I've got a little jug of strawberry milk right now, and I didn't think twice about buying it. Story 11. Honestly, reproduction. The idea of repeatedly bumping certain body parts together until a substance of living organisms is introduced into a climate that may or may not kill them until one organism finds a particular cell. The organism and the cell combine and eventually make a person. Story 12. Math exists. It's here. No one invented it. We just discovered its rules. Math is the only thing in this universe that is infinite, truly perfect, flawless. If I looked deep enough, I could find the entire script for the Hunger Games series in Math's code. Math also realized the Mandelbrot set, a shape that can be infinitely zoomed into, and it will infinitely generate more images. True infinity. It's almost as if someone created it, and that bothers me. And here's another one that bothers me. Why am I me? What decided I would inhabit the consciousness and witness the life of AskReddit on November 21st, 1998? And listen, the easy answer is God. But let's pretend I don't believe in a God. Why wasn't I my sister or my parents or my best friend? Why wasn't I some guy named Philip 200 years ago? Or some woman named Kayla 100 years from now? Or why wasn't I Jeff Dunham or one of the terrorists on September 11th, 2001? I don't want to be any of those people, but why wasn't I? No, I was born as AskReddit on November 21st, 1998. This isn't an "oh woe is me, this life sucks, why couldn't I be someone cooler" kind of question. They say science can answer anything, but it can't answer that. Science has been wrong before. We used to think the universe revolved around us and that the world was flat. The process has evolved so much and we learned so much more. So what if we've merely dipped a toe into the puddle of what science will discover? And if we finally get deep enough, we actually find God. And again, I'm a Baptist, but I deal with doubts and thoughts just as anyone has, does, or would. The devil tempting you from God or whatever. But these questions about the origins of math or what decided I would witness this life in this time, questions that can't be answered, scare those feelings into silence. Story 13. That we live on Earth in the solar system, that is just one of many galaxies. Weird. Then we grow up, work, pay rent, reproduce life, and die. Why? The theory of life is the biggest question of all. Story 14. Mirrors. Every day we look at a reflection of ourselves. Something that animals rarely do, and when they do, they get confused or aggressive. It's almost like we've created this extra version of ourselves that we constantly check in on. Story 15. We all live with the knowledge that we are going to die, but still decide to bring children into such a place where existential dread is how we spend our whole lives. Story 16. Total solar eclipses. The moon and sun just happen to line up perfectly and, from our perspective, appear to be the same size. The gender ratio. How does it stay so close to 50-50? Third man phenomenon. I just saw a post about this the other day. I don't know if it's a metaphysical thing or the human body being weird and amazing. Either way, it is absolutely fascinating. The world is full of wonders. Story 17. Dreaming. We go into a paralysis-like state and then play movies in our heads that nobody else can see. Some people have dreams while others do not. Sometimes we dream of things and then they happen in the future. Or a dream is so realistic that it is hard to differentiate between that and real life. Story 18. The Pledge of Allegiance. We are having children pledge their loyalty to the United States of America. Replace the United States of America with the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and now that is bad. Story 19. Growing up, my uncles and dad, whenever their throat itched, would stick their finger in their ear and then make a noise that almost sounds like static TV noise. So whenever my throat itches, well, you can guess what I'd probably do. One time, my friends and I were hanging out, and my throat started itching out of nowhere. I did that only to look up and have everyone staring at me asking if I was okay. Took me a minute to explain what I was doing. I had no idea it was so strange. What else would someone do when their throat itches? Story 20. I've always thought Christmas trees are weird. Let's chop down this tree, bring it inside, and put decorations on it. I always joke that the dogs are probably so confused about why there is suddenly a tree inside, but they're not allowed to bring sticks inside. Haha. Story 21. I think our brains are really weird. Like, are you really you, or are you just your brain controlling you? We like to think we are mostly in control of ourselves and our thoughts, but we are kind of not. How come sometimes we cannot control our thoughts? Why do we just need to power down for 1/3 of our lives? Our brain does not fully shut off, but we are also not in control of it. The more you think about the brain, the weirder it is. Story 22. The internal combustion engine. Take a machine that purposely causes explosions, put it near your face. Then, sit on a plastic container of explosives, and attach wheels to the whole deadly contraption. Also, you don't have to walk to the shops. Story 23. Blue jeans. Specifically, there is a large percentage of the population of the planet that wears blue pants when awake but would basically never wear blue pants if they aren't jeans. It's one of those things where once you recognize it, you just can't prevent yourself from seeing crowds of people as just a bunch of people in blue pants. You're welcome. Story 24. Electricity is really weird. I think that scientists are not exactly sure why it works, what starts the process. Here is what they say. Electrons usually remain a constant distance from the atom's nucleus in precise shells. The shell closest to the nucleus can hold 2 electrons. The next shell can hold up to 8. The outer shells can hold even more. Some atoms with many protons can have as many as 7 shells with electrons in them. The electrons in the shells closest to the nucleus have a strong force of attraction to the protons. Sometimes, the electrons in an atom's outermost shells do not have a strong force of attraction to the protons. These electrons can be pushed out of their orbits. Applying a force can make them shift from one atom to another. These shifting electrons are electricity. But does that really explain how the movement of electrons gets started? Story 25. Lots of things, but sometimes I think about how it's weird that we are given a name and we have to be called that for the rest of our lives unless, of course, you change it, but I haven't. Story 26. Every building we occupy has a room dedicated to exposing yourself in order to excrete waste. You just get up and go there, and everyone knows it. It's the most mundane thing until you start thinking about how much intent is behind it all. Story 27. There are probably other living creatures on another planet. If humans on Earth ever meet them, they likely do not speak any languages spoken on Earth, and we will never have a way to communicate. Sign language or pictographs will not even work, especially if our everyday objects and body parts do not look the same. Story 28. For me, it has always been school. 1,200 children, all required to wear the same clothes, go into the same building at the same time and do a certain number of activities, then go home. Sometimes 5.5 days a week. Certain types of jobs give me the same uncanny feeling. I know objectively that this is how the world works, but it still weirds me out if I think about it. Story 29. The phrase, "let us go." Say it without the apostrophe. Let us go. Suddenly it goes from, we need to get going to, we are trapped. Help. Sometimes I say, let us go, instead of let us go, just to throw people off. Story 30. The idea that you cannot just eat a thing without knowing what is in it seems kind of bizarre. 100 years ago, you would just eat an apple and it would be, well, an apple. Story 31. Not to go down the path of election nonsense more here, but the celebrity of politicians who, for the most part, only care about their own personal gain, while pretending to care even a little bit about us as humans. This is worldwide, so I get a pass on the recent events. 99% garbage people. Story 32. The fact that my local Walmart has 28 American flags hanging from the rafters across the store. If I saw any other flag that many times in a single store, I would say that it's kind of weird, but it took me almost 2 years to realize it. But I'm in a Navy town, so the flag is everywhere. You just quit noticing it after a while. Story 33. Humans are actually brains driving inside bone mechanical suits with self-healing meat armor, communicating via vibrations in the air, riding a rock floating through space. Story 34. The best thing about computers is they do exactly what you tell them to do. The worst thing about computers is they do exactly what you tell them to do. Story 35. Some of the organelles in our cells were originally bacteria until some other single-celled organism absorbed them. And it's not just us, but also all plants, animals, and fungi. Story 36. I came here for a delicious piece of pie, not to help cover your business expenses based on a percentage of your gross income. Serve my party of 5 a feast for 90 minutes? Here's $40. Bring me a single bottle of vodka and some cranberry juice. Take my $300. Story 37. Kissing. No hate. I'm pretty sure making out is one of my favorite things to do in this world. But who came up with that and how? Did someone fall on someone else? Their lips touched, and after, they were like, I kind of enjoyed that. Would you like to put your mouth onto my mouth again? What if you opened your mouth while my mouth was on your mouth and I massaged your tongue with my tongue? It's weird. Story 38. Snow skiing. Think about it, you pay someone lots of money to strap some long sticks to your feet and have them transport you to the top of the mountain and try to slide down without killing yourself. Most people succeed, but not all. Story 39. Governments are kind of weird. Like, what do you mean this group of people has an opinion on what I choose to do? And what do you mean if they do not like what I do, they can impose a debt on me or throw me in prison? Like, they just have the power to do that? Because they held a poll and a majority of respondents told them they had that power? What do you mean I owe them money because someone else gave me money? Like, it is weird, right? Who are these people and why am I beholden to them? Story 40. The Pledge of Allegiance. Never thought about it growing up, but it is creepy as hell. Not to mention we used to use a certain salute instead of the hand over the heart prior to a certain world war. Tried to explain it to some friends and they defended it outright. Story 41. Any word or common saying. If you think about most sayings, the context is gone, and the only reason they still make sense is their continued use in certain scenarios. If you think about basically any word long enough, it becomes strange and unfamiliar, especially if you repeatedly say it aloud. Story 42. The standard model of particle physics. It's all well and good worrying about how or why the universe exists, but where did the rules that govern it come from? Story 43. Trusting a celebrity's endorsement of a product when they have zero expertise in the development or business of said product. For example, Logan Paul selling energy drinks. Is he an expert that understands the finer points of good nutrition and food science? No, just an idiot with a camera crew. Buy his stuff? Story 44. Drinking milk is so messed up when you think about it. Guaranteed it's really bad for us too. But because the dairy industry is massive, no one says a thing. Story 45. I think I'm a pretty well-educated guy, maybe slightly above normal intelligence. But I cannot figure out why evolution decided metamorphosis was something that should happen. So much life on this planet has evolved to be the best at what it does. But for some things, it's like, you're a caterpillar. Just kidding. Now you're a butterfly. Why not just be a butterfly the whole time? Why does it completely change what it is?